Welcome today. I'm now going to open the regular City Council meeting of the Lubbock City Council for July 28, 2026. The City Council will recess into executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.071 to consult with and seek advice of the city's legal counsel, and 551.072 to discuss the purchase, exchange, or value of real property. The City Council is recessing at 12:02 p.m. It is Tuesday, July 28th, and the City Council will now reconvene in open session. We're going to take up our ceremonial items, and at this time I call on Pastor Joe Horger with Bible Missionary Church to lead us in our invocation, followed by Councilwoman Martinez Garcia, who will lead us in the U.S. and Texas Pledges of Allegiance. Will y'all please stand?
First, I'm going to read a few scriptures written by a very privileged individual. He was a first cousin of Jesus Christ, and that he became the Apostle John. But he writes in his first epistle, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked upon, and our hands have handled of the word of life. For life was manifested, and we have seen it, and bear witness, and show unto you the eternal life, which was with the Father, and was manifested unto us. And so we're praying unto that one that condescended, because he cares about what takes place in this world. He cares about what takes place even in this meeting. So let's bow our heads and have a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we're so thankful that your care and your concern's far greater than any of us here. You didn't just create and just take off and leave. We pray that you'll look down upon us right now. Help in this meeting. Help the ones in charge in whatever takes place, that somehow your will and your concern will be worked out. Be with each one in their part in this. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, we will now call the meeting to order and take up citizen comments. According to the Lubbock City Council rules, any citizen wishing to appear before a regular meeting of the City Council regarding any matter posted on the City Council agenda shall complete the sign-up form provided at the meeting no later than 2 p.m. on today, July 28, 2026. At this time, we do not have anyone signed up for citizen comments, so we will move forward. All right, we will now take up agenda item 4.1, the minutes for our June 23rd, 2026 regular City Council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve item 4.1? I've got a motion by Councilwoman Martinez Garcia and a second by Councilman Harris. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, we will now take up item 5, which is our consent agenda. As of now, there has not been a request to pull any of the agenda items from our consent agenda, so we will entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda in its entirety. Do I have a motion?
I'll move. Second.
All right, I've got a motion by Councilwoman Martinez Garcia, second by Councilman Rose. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the motion approves and carries unanimously. All right, that is going to take us to our regular agenda. We're going to do a little bit of a change up in our order today for the consideration, saving agenda items 6.1 and 6.6 for last. That way we can get some of our people out of here that need to leave. With that, now we will take up items 6.2 through 6.4, which are going to represent zoning cases 3145H, 3417B, and 3556. Together, without objection, we will conduct a consolidated public hearing for these zoning cases. As a reminder, the purpose of a public hearing is to hear from the applicant and members of the public. The council may ask questions during the public hearing, but no discussion on the merits will be conducted by the council during the public hearing. So at this time, I was going to call Ms. Sager. Before we get started, today is Ms. Sager's birthday. You knew you were not going to get through it, so happy birthday. Thank you. And Ms. Sager is going to provide us a brief summary of our zone cases that are up for public hearing.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Item 6.2 is Zone Case 3145H. The applicant is Brad Andrews Realty, and the request is to rezone property from MU2 to neighborhood commercial. We sent out 52 notifications, receiving 1 in favor. This property is located south of Broadway, west of Avenue Q. Here's the response map showing the 1 response we did receive in favor. Here's an aerial view of the subject property. The property is currently vacant and is surrounded by a mix of commercial and residential uses. The current zoning is MU2, one of our mixed-use districts. There is residential zoning to the south and additional MU2 zoning to the north, east, and west. The future land use plan designates this area for mixed uses. And here are some photos of the subject property and surrounding area. The future land use map designation is for mixed use, so neighborhood commercial is a minor deviation. However, it is appropriate in this location, surrounded by a mix of commercial and residential uses. The zone change is in conformance with the zoning ordinance and appropriate in this area. The property is suitable for the proposed zone change and the uses allowed within the neighborhood commercial district. Staff had no objection to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with a unanimous vote, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Sager? Okay.
Item 6.3, Zone Case 3417B, located in District 5. The applicant is Centerline, and the request is to rezone property from office to light industrial. We sent out 57 notifications, receiving 21 in favor. Here's the map showing the responses in favor. Here's an aerial view of the subject property. It is currently vacant, and the property is located east of Alcove Avenue, south of 66. There is a developing business park to the east, additional commercial uses to the south, and to the west is a residential neighborhood that is outside city limits, actually located in Wolforth. The current zoning is office. There is additional light industrial to the east, heavy commercial to the north, and low-density single-family and office further south. The future land use plan designates this property for residential low-density land uses. And here are some photos of the subject property and surrounding area. Here's a graphic provided by the applicant, again, just showing the tracts they are asking to be rezoned. The future land use map designation is for residential. However, this request is appropriate in this location, already inside of a developing business park. The zone change is compatible with the surrounding area and will not change the character of the existing development. Alcove Avenue is a principal arterial. Staff has no objection to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with a unanimous vote, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Any questions from Ms. Sager? All right.
Okay. Item 6.4, Zone Case 3556, also in District 5. The applicant is Hugo Reed and Associates, and the request is to rezone property from low-density single-family SF2 to neighborhood commercial and auto urban commercial. We sent out 31 notifications, receiving 0 in favor or in opposition. This property is located at 50th and Upland. Here is the aerial map showing the current property is vacant. There are a few residential properties in the area, but it is, for the most part, surrounded by other vacant land. The current zoning is low-density, single-family SF2. There is some additional neighborhood commercial to the south, along with auto-urban commercial to the east, and a little bit further southwest. Future land use plan designates this area for residential low-density land uses. Here's some photos of the subject property and surrounding area, as well as from 50th. Here's a graphic provided by the applicant. The auto-urban commercial is requested to be at the corners of 50th and Upland, with neighborhood commercial extending along the thoroughfares. The future land use map designation is for residential land uses. The requested zone change is a deviation from this, but it is appropriate along these principal arterials. The zone change is compatible with the zoning ordinance and will be appropriate in this area. The subject properties are currently zoned single-family low density. Again, they front onto principal arterial streets, so it is appropriate. Staff has no objection to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with a unanimous vote, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions on this case for Ms. Sager? All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. With that, I will now open the public hearing for agenda items 6.2 to 6.4. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of these zoning cases?
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Terry Holman. I'm with Hugo Reed and Associates. I'm representing 6.4. I can be available for questions. For us, it's a fairly straightforward, routine, sort of upfront commercial zoning application to tee the development up, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Seth Watts. I'm a representative of 6.2 under Board Management Corp. I'm obviously in favor of it. We took on this my client took on this property back in 2020 before they made the UDC change, the zoning change. So we're just after getting a little bit more approval in the zoning of that particular property. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay, with that, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to any of these three zone cases? All right, I will now close our public hearing at 2:12. And can I get a motion to approve agenda items 6.2 to 6.4?
I move we adopt agenda items 6.2 through 6.4.
Second. Okay. Got a motion by Councilman Brugel, a second by Councilwoman Martinez Garcia. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we will now take up agenda item 6.5 and conduct a public hearing on an ordinance on the first reading, amending the Unified Development Code to amend section 39.02.016 and 39.2.004.8.3 of the Unified Development Code to allow manufactured homes as a permitted use in accordance with the requirements of Texas Senate Bill 785. I will now call Ms. Sager again to provide us with a briefing on this item.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Item 6.5 is an amendment to the Unified Development Code. Senate Bill 785 went into effect September 1st. It will be effective September 1st, 2026, and requires cities to permit the installation of HUD code manufactured homes for use as a dwelling in any area determined appropriate by the municipality, including a subdivision, planned unit development, single lot, and rental community or park. Today, we already allow these homes in a manufactured home park, as well as planned unit development, if someone requested that. So this will allow homes on individual lots within a subdivision. The city, as part of the bill, the city may not require a specific use permit if a specific use permit is not required for other residential property in the same zoning classification. The city shall permit the installation by right of a new HUD code manufactured home for use as a dwelling within the boundaries of at least one residential zoning classification. And the city shall ensure at least one of the residential zoning classifications has been adopted and applies to an area within the city's boundaries. This is the definition we already have in the Unified Development Code outlining what is considered a HUD code manufactured home. That is not changing. So the proposed amendment is to add HUD code manufactured home as a permitted use in the residential estates zoning district. This is the property already inside city limits that is currently zoned residential estates. These are the regulations for that district. Staff recommended approval of the amendment, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with a unanimous vote, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Sager?
Yes. Could you go back to the map?
Oh, hold on.
Sure.
So I'm noticing the Otterloo Road over there, so that has been extended to where they can put mobile homes there?
So the area, the properties that are in brown on this map, that is currently zoned residential estates. So yes, manufactured homes will be allowed on individual lots within that area.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Sager? Yes. Okay. Councilwoman Kristen Martinez Garcia?
Thank you, Kristen. Again, happy birthday. I know that the two areas that we've already identified, one of them is owned by a nonprofit in the area, and one is by LIDA. Have we had conversations with either one of these groups about that?
We have not. And again, anyone could request residential estate zoning for their property.
Okay, and that's good to know that
Yes.
it's open to anyone as long as they meet the requirements of the UDC.
Yes, they would have to request a zone change, have the proper zoning, and then again, meet the regulations.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further? Oh, Mr. Collins?
One last one. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Are there other neighborhoods within the city that are currently residential estates?
No, these are the only properties currently.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further questions for Ms. Sager? All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. With that, I will now open the public hearing for agenda item 6.5. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item, whether in favor or opposition? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 2:17. And I will entertain a motion to approve the recommended amendment to the UDC.
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilwoman Martinez Garcia. I heard a second by Councilman Collins. Okay. All right. And any discussion?
Can I just point out that these are located in District 1?
Any additional discussion? All right. Seeing none. All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. All right. Council will now take up item 6.7, a public hearing to receive public comments on an ordinance accepting the service and assessment plan, assessment roll, and assessment levy for the Center Point Public Improvement District. I will now call on our Business Development Director, Danielle Williams, to provide a brief summary on this item.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I might introduce Molly Ballesteros. She will be carrying this item. Ms. Williams is in the back if we need her to help. So,
Welcome, Molly. Thank you.
Today we are bringing to you a public hearing and first read of an ordinance. And first read of an ordinance for the Center Point Public Improvement District Assessment Ordinance. We have brought several items to you earlier this year regarding Center Point. Today's action would be the last last actionable item that we will present to you for the full creation of the Centerpoint Public Improvement District. On the slide that you have in front of you is a map of the Centerpoint Public Improvement District. The Public Improvement District itself is fully created, but the last step of the full creation process to create any public improvement district will be today's action on the public hearing and the assessment ordinance. The map is the boundary of the Public Improvement District that was set quite a few months ago. This is the only area that would be levied for the assessment that we are going to talk about today. The assessment will be set at 17 cents per $100 valuation. For every $100,000 a property is worth, the property will be assessed $170. That funds is collected by the Lubbock Central Appraisal District at the same time property taxes are collected. That is then transferred to the city of Lubbock and is held in a separate account for the staff and the future board to manage. A public hearing will need to be held today, and if you hear any objection to the proposed 17 cents assessment, you will need to pass on those comments before moving forward to the first reading of the ordinance. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. We do have representation from the developer in the crowd today, if you have any questions about the development.
All right, any questions for Molly? All right, thank you. All right, I will now open the public hearing on agenda item 6.7. Is there anyone wishing to speak either in favor or opposition to this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I will now close the public hearing at 2:21. And can I have a motion to approve agenda item 6.7?
I move we approve agenda item 6.7. Second.
All right, got a motion by Councilman Brugel, a second by Councilman Rose. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the council will now take up agenda item 6.1, which is zoning case 3555. I'm going to call on Ms. Sager to provide a brief summary on this zoning case.
Okay. Item 6.1, Zone Case 3555. The applicant is Hugo Reed and Associates, and the request is to rezone property from low-density single-family SF2 to general industrial. We sent out 29 notifications, receiving 1 in opposition. This property is located south of Drew Street, west of Interstate 27. There are actually 2 properties involved in this case. The second one is located further south, still west of I-27, north of Keuka. Here's the response map showing the 1 in opposition. And here's the map showing the 2 properties in relation to each other. We have the larger property on the south end of this map, currently zoned SF2 single family, and the other property at the north end, it actually looks like a cutout. The ordinance to annex that property is item 6.6 on your agenda today. Property automatically comes into the city as low-density single-family SF2. But as you remember, council amended the UDC very recently to allow these 2 processes to go concurrently. Here is an aerial view of the property on Drew Street. There are a few single-family homes to the north, but for the majority, it is surrounded by vacant land. Here is the southern property. There is some existing commercial and industrial properties to the east, fronting I-27. The current zoning, the property on Drew Street would again come in as SF2. It is surrounded to the south, east, and west by general industrial. Property to the north is outside city limits with additional single-family SF2 further north. Current zoning of the southern property is low-density single-family SF2. There are properties outside city limits, a little bit of additional SF2, and general industrial to the west. The future land use plan designates both properties for industrial land uses. Here are some photos from Drew Street, as well as Keuka. The future land use map designates both areas for industrial land uses, so the request for general industrial zoning is consistent. The zone change is compatible with the zoning ordinance and the surrounding area. Drew Street and Keuka are both designated as principal arterials according to the master thoroughfare plan. Staff has no objection to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with a unanimous vote, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Ms. Sager at this time? Councilwoman Martinez Garcia?
Thank you, Kristen. The question that I'd like to ask that I think we probably need to address, just to save us a little bit of time, this particular property, do we know what it's going to be used for?
I don't. I will have to defer to the applicant.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. I just want to confirm or just clarify to the folks that might be interested that it is not being utilized for a data center.
I'll have to defer to the applicant for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Ms. Sager? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on and we open our public hearing today, I do want to remind everybody in the public, I know several of you guys are here to speak on agenda item 6.1 and 6.6, but the purpose of these cases are zoning cases, and so please make sure you keep your comments relevant. We do want to hear from all of you guys, but please keep your comments relevant to the particular zone case and your reasons that you would not want zoning changed on this piece of property. And if we start to drift outside of the relevance of this particular case, then we will redirect, okay? All right, so at this time, I'm gonna open the public hearing for agenda item 6.1. And is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this zone case? Hold on, Adam, hold on.
Good afternoon again. I'm glad to see that we have some support back here. I really appreciate that. My job is probably a little bit easier than maybe some today. I'm here to talk primarily just about the case at hand, which is our zone case. I'm going to give you, Ms. Sager laid it out very well. I'll give you a little bit of background. As you've heard, and I want to reinforce that, particularly this is in two separate pieces. The property on the south is currently SF2 zoning. This is one of those cases where that was never purposefully zoned as residential by anybody. It was just a byproduct of when that property came into the city limits decades ago. Not decades ago, 2018, I'm sorry. The area on the north, yes, it is running in tandem with the annexation that we're looking for your approval on as well. And the code allows us to do the zoning and the annexation simultaneously, and that's our objective. So these two properties at hand, LEDA just recently acquired the one on the south just this last spring, and it was their objective to go ahead and move forward with zoning to get that leg of this overall assembled piece of property teed up for general industrial zoning. That aligns with what you all approved for us a few months back on the 380 acres, which is the bulk of the remaining land that LEDA owns. On the north, it was, as I said, annexed in the area around was annexed in 2018. And so at the time, LEDA did not yet own the property. So when they acquired the property, there was still a remnant thing that had been left out of annexation. And so they couldn't get zoning at the time, and they were waiting until they could assemble the other small pieces together to come to you with one cohesive request, which is why we're here this afternoon. So on the north, it's 7.9 acres. Maybe about a fourth or a third of that is occupied by state roadway, so it's maybe, call it 6 or 7 acres net. It really is what I would call a cleanup, or what I would call a finish out, so to speak, of the general industrial that we had already had in place. From a strictly, and yes, it is in conformance with the comp plan. From strictly a zoning standpoint, we believe this is really the only choice for us. It just makes perfect sense for the surrounding property. And we'd be happy to answer any questions, and I have Mr. Osborne here as well to answer any other questions that you might need to hear. Thank you.
Terry. Councilwoman Martinez Garcia.
You can answer it, or John can answer it, whichever is preferred. I would like to know if this property will be used for a data center.
This is where I'm just the hired help, and I'll defer to the boss.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen, do you mind if I move over to your map? Am I going the right way? The other way? Starting with the smaller piece that's up on the north side, this is, again, 6-7 acres that would be really part of a bigger parcel of land. The reason that this land was acquired in the first place, the bigger parcel was acquired in the first place, was because of the rail line that goes along the eastern portion of it. You can see that rail line right there on that solid line that goes right against the outside of the city limits. And that's BNSF's main rail line. So while I guess technically a data center could go on a property like this, it's not the highest and best use for that property. It's actually much better use for a rail-served industrial client or possibly a rail-served distribution type client. Most of the hyperscale, the big data centers need more than 500 acres, and there's not the ability to assemble 500 acres on this piece. Even if you acquired the stuff on the opposite side of the rail, you'd have a rail line going through the middle of the property, and data centers typically do not care for that activity. So I think a data center potentially could go there. I don't anticipate a data center ever going there, primarily because LEDA, we're trying to put the highest and best use on a particular property, and we are in such short supply of rail-served properties that it would be much better use for rail-served. The other property is on the opposite side of the railroad tracks, so that yellow box there on the far left is actually the rail line there. That gray box is the roughly 377 acres that we already own. This is roughly 44 acres that fronts Kuka Street. Mr. Reimer approached us, I think in like March-ish or maybe April, February, March, April, sometime in there, about him wanting to be completely done farming. He was ready to retire. He had been farming this land for us. It was the 377 was his acreage prior to us purchasing it. He continued to farm it. For this upcoming season this summer, we actually had to have a different farmer come and farm it because he was ready to be done. He was looking to vacate this particular property, and this property fronts Kuka Street. And I'm sure you've driven down Kuka Street. It's a dirt road right now.
Yes.
It's a very narrow road, and there's some challenges as it relates to being able to have it be what kind of thoroughfare was it? Arterial thoroughfare. That's going to be a wider road, and so this allows us to work with ourselves to try as much as possible to have that road be the proper width that the city requires up and down that entire length as much as possible. And a 40-ish acre piece of property that's rectangular is a good piece of property for a manufacturer, maybe a distribution, especially as close to the interstate as it is. They're not going to a data center's not likely to want to go there at all, and a hyperscale couldn't go there whatsoever because it's just not near enough acres.
Thank you for your response. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we move on from Mr. Osborne? Okay. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this zone case? Okay. Moving on. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Mr. Hernandez.
Yes, now it's my turn. All right, Adam Hernandez, right around the corner at 820 Main Street, Communications Chair for Lubbock Compact. And can't say I'm happy to be here because I'm super busy today and probably should be doing something else, but this is important. So setting aside what the use is, because we don't know that, right? My opposition to why this zone change does not need to be approved is really because of the environment that we've created as a city that we're operating under, that Mr. Holman and Mr. Osborne are operating under, that planning and zoning is operating under, that our planning department is operating under, that continues to lead to this same issue. It doesn't matter if it's a data center, it doesn't matter if it's a concrete batch plant, it doesn't matter what it is. It's an industrial use. So let me talk about what the problem is, what the real problem is. There's actually a couple. So on the city side, let's talk about what's in place. We've got the Unified Development Code. That was not without its controversies. There was a running joke calling it the Unified Developer Code because of the amount of influence that developers have been able to exert on that document and continue to exert on that document. So there's that. That's harder to change. The future land use plan gets brought up in every single zone case in front of you in planning and zoning. That was not without its controversies. As a matter of fact, that led to a lawsuit against the city for 14th Amendment right violations because certain communities in this city do not enjoy equal rights under our laws. That's a fact. Why is that a fact? Because you just heard it from city leadership, the mayor in particular, that industrial uses just go there, meaning in District 1 and 2. And that's one of the reasons why they just go there, the future land use plan. There was a huge fight for that. I know the Councilwoman Martinez Garcia remembers that vividly. There was a big fight about that. And just because the city won, and just because the community didn't have the means to take that to a higher court does not mean that that wasn't a valid complaint. So relying on the future land use plan to make these decisions is not going to get you the result you want, and it's going to continue to cause this friction with the public. The other part to this, the comprehensive plan, AKA Plan Lubbock 2040. That's what the comprehensive plan is that gets brought up in, again, every single zoning case. And you will hear over and over from the planning department, again, I'm not ragging on them, it's their job. You will hear from them that this is in line with the comprehensive plan. Yes, technically, under the current rules that we have, it is in line with the comprehensive plan. But overall, it is out of alignment with the comprehensive plan. Because in the comprehensive plan, there's an entire section dedicated to talking about the city disallowing these types of developments, particularly, specifically in Districts 1 and 2, because of the things that I just mentioned to you, as well as the historic burden that this has been on those communities. Many of you know that I spent 38 years of my life living in District 2 in East Lubbock, surrounded by industry. And so very intimate knowledge of this on the ground, all right? So we are not in line with Plan Lubbock 2040. And what is Plan Lubbock 2040 at the end of the day? It was the city making a resolution saying this is the direction we would like to go in for the future. And those things involved two primary motivators for that document: quality of life and tax revenue for the city. And when you look at cities across the country and across the world, I can tell you that there's a repeated pattern that has not failed for decades. And that is that residential and mixed-use developments will bring you much more tax base than any industrial use ever will, and for longer. It creates better quality of life. It creates more long-term revenue and more growable revenue for the tax revenue for the city than a PICO or a data center or a concrete batch plant that is very minimal on your tax rolls. And you can double check my work on that. And so the last piece to this that sort of brings it all together and puts it in front of all of our faces and brings it near our neighborhoods to where we have to come up here and do this every time is how LEDA is set up. And this is not against LEDA. It's not their fault how they were set up. That was some previous council long ago. So let me explain that. LEDA is what's called an economic development corporation. It's the category of organization that it is, and obviously has the charge of doing economic development. In Texas, we have two types of those. We got a type A and we got a type B. LEDA is a type A. By law, under the state of Texas, type A's cannot build anything other than industrial or research facilities or the infrastructure to serve those types of developments, by law. They can't do anything just in their normal charge that's outside of that. There's an alternative they could do, I'll talk about in a second. The type B is the one where you can do quality of life things and other types of developments. Affordable housing, parks, the infrastructure to service those things, etc. As I just explained to you, would bring you much more tax base. So I'm not necessarily in disagreement with economic development or having an economic development corporation. What I'm presenting to you all here today is that we need to look at how that is structured. We don't need a type A economic development corporation in Lubbock in 2026, period. We need a type B. If we're going to have one, we need a type B economic development corporation at this point in Lubbock's life cycle.
Mr. Hernandez, I'm going to ask you to redirect back to the zone case specifically.
So I'm getting how it ties back into it. So LEDA is going to continue to bring you industrial zone cases like this one. And so what I'm asking you today, as many of the people here are asking you today, is to not approve this zone change request today, to take some time to rethink this entire situation. Was it prompted by AI data centers? Yes. But right now we're talking about this specific zone case. And what we need to do, we're at a crossroads, guys. And what we need to do is we need to pause. And LEDA doesn't even have anything in mind for this, so it's not costing anybody any extra money. Okay? But what you're telling the people of District 1 and District 2, if you approve this case, is yet another slap in the face against all of the work that was put into Plan Lubbock 2040, against all of the opposition you've received from hundreds and hundreds of citizens around these types of developments. And you're going to be telling them that they don't matter because not a lot of people live there, or maybe not the right people live there. And so that is what I'm presenting to you all today. Do not approve this case. Make it easier on yourselves and on LEDA and on the city as a whole. And pause. And guys, let's think about how we're moving forward with this city and its development. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to keep the applause to a minimum so everybody will have a chance to speak, okay? Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I'm going to read because I can't do that. My name is Kyla Whitworth, and I live directly across the street from the small sliver of land that we're talking about. I'm here to respectfully oppose the request to rezone case 35555 at this time. There are some new members of the City Council, so I'll explain some of the same information that we expressed in February 24th meeting. Our property is directly in line with the Reimer Farm location. In fact, our front yard is less than 70 feet from the Reimer Farm. While this might seem like a small sliver of land that we are discussing, its value is much more than that. You know it, I know it, and LEDA knows it. This sliver of land completes the boundary for the south side of the road to be in uniform with a comprehensive plan that allows utilities, driveways, and construction to begin on the Reimer Farm. That is why we are asking for a pause in the rezoning case. It has been stated over and over in zoning meetings, city council meetings, and private meetings, there's no use for this land. There's no plans for this land. Then why do we keep moving forward? When there is a very real human impact happening directly across the street. What LEDA and the City Council has created is a checkerboard pattern of the city and the county properties mingled together. The farm directly south of our house is in the city. Our house is in the county. The farm directly north of us is in the city. The wreck of January 11th, 2020 that killed 2 first responders could have been avoided. However, because the city of Lubbock and the city of New Deal could not get their communications straight on who responds to our area, it happened. How do I know? Because that man responded to that call. He lives with the images that he saw. He lives with what he heard on the radio traffic. There are human lives that are being impacted by what the city is doing. That day was also my son's birthday. We've had to call emergency response to our house for a domestic situation in front. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to send. Do they send the county? Do they send the city? Nobody knows. So what happens? They don't show up. And some girl is somewhere we don't know because they wouldn't respond. Can you or LEDA tell me why the Reimer family has been given close to $10 million on a farm that they do not reside on? LEDA is planning to invest another $15 million in a water tower and more in a rail switchyard. Why LEDA acquired and relocated a family on the south side of the road earlier this year to shore it up? You shored it up, but it's not completely shored up. Why does this matter so much to us? Those faces in the audience, those are the reason behind my fight. The funny thing is, I don't even want to fight. Those faces stood before you in February, and they begged you not to rezone. They laid their vulnerability down at this podium. In February, we presented information from the school that we had already seen a regression in behavior due to the instability in our environment. We also presented a letter from our licensed trauma-based relation intervention therapist. Just so we're all up to speed, I'll read a portion of that letter. The therapist goes to say, I've known this family for more than 15 years, and I've had the privilege of watching them build a consistent, structured, and nurturing environment for children who began their lives with significant adversity. Their home has been the foundation for attachment, regulation, and healing. What happens in the next phase will matter greatly for these children. I serve as a licensed professional counselor associate and am trained in trust-based relational intervention. In my work with children impacted by trauma and disrupted attachment, I can say with confidence that extended uncertainty combined with daily exposure to construction, traffic, noise, and visible signs of loss is not simply inconvenient, it's destabilizing. When children wake up each day surrounded by upheaval, the message they receive is that their safety is temporary and control is out of their reach. Children in these circumstances often show increases in anxiety, sleep disturbance, difficult concentrating, and regression in behavior. Parents are then asked to counteract those stressors while the environment continues to reinforce them. She went on to say, because of this, she urged the City Council to pursue a swift resolution. That was sent to every City Council member during the February 24th case. You showed my children that they are not as valuable to this city as Mr. Reimer's land, now Lida's $10 million project across the street is. You've shown them that licensed therapists and counselors that work with children such as them should be ignored at the expense of Lida's agenda. You used to have the Heart Gallery plastered on the wall outside the door. Why? For good show? You have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children that come from that Heart Gallery. Yet you've instilled fear and reiterated that their voices don't matter. Our daughter asked, why are we even going today? We will lose. I'm here to teach my daughter. It's not about winning. It is about standing up for what is right. We are not asking you to hold off on this vote because we disagree. We're the only party here trying to work a compromise. All we are asking for is answers. Every time we attend a meeting, we are told, no current plans. We are given a host of things that it cannot be built on this land. So if there's nothing there, why the rush? Why can Lida not shore up the entire industrial district all at once? According to your comprehensive plan, and according to Mr. Holman in the case 3552, even the north side of the road will be industrial. There's a rhetoric online that our home is being taken. That is not the case, not yet. The truth of the matter is, according to your comprehensive plan, our home will someday be taken. However, not at this time, not until Mr. Osborne and Lida decide that we are worth it. Lida has no problem with us living across the street from an industrial facility until their time is right. It means the last of my children's school days will be spent with an unrelenting pollution of lights, noise, and construction. Why can Lida not remedy the situation in which they are posing? I'm only asking for checks and balances for Lida. I did go a little rogue. Mr. Holman stated that this is to clean up this area. Why are we not cleaning up the entire industrial district all at once? There's 3 families left. There's 1 asking for protection. Just for clarification, what Mr. Osborne stated, Mr. Reimer went to them to ask to be bought out of work. And they entertained it. Yet we were ridiculed and made fun of at the February 24th meeting. your checkerboard pattern currently created, there are no setbacks, regulations for our property across the street because we are in the county. So whomever it is that LEDA decides to give the land to next, they can literally build 70 feet from my front door. I'm going to reiterate my February 24th plea. What seems like a simple rezoning request on behalf of LEDA and Hugo Reed is not simple when you consider the effects that it will have on my children. I'm asking that you put family first, then consider LEDA's request. I am asking that you not rezone case 3555 to give us the setbacks so that my children can play in the front yard. They can load the bus without a driveway or a business being directly across the street. There is access to this property already on Cahuca, or even further west. This simply allows a compromise to protect our family. Please hold off on rezoning case 355 until a fair agreement can be reached that is beneficial to all parties involved. I do believe it can be swift. We do want to see this city grow, but we don't want to do it at the expense of my family. I am asking you to show today that my kids' voices matter. I am asking that we all come to a compromise on this and pause this rezoning.
I'm going to remind you again to please not clap. It takes more time out of everybody trying to come up and make comments. You guys can celebrate quietly after each speech, but not by clapping. Yes, sir.
My name is William Whitworth. It's my wife. I live across the street from the small property. Can I change the map, please? I think I can do this.
Yeah, if you need help, we can get some help.
There we go. Okay, so we live across what y'all referred to as Drew Street, actually FM 1294. That's part of the confusion that's been caused. Trying to get emergency services or mail. If I put Drew Street as my mail, I won't get my mail. If I call for emergency services and I tell them FM 1294, they won't show up. So we spoke to y'all a couple months ago, a very similar case, the 3552. One disagreement I do have with Ms. Singer. She said it's surrounded by vacant land. Vacant land is actually farmland. I personally wouldn't consider that as being vacant. That's somebody that's making money off that land. The Mr. Osborne's statement about a data center needing roughly 500 acres or more goes against what's currently going on in Abernathy with a data center going in on a 300-acre piece of property, which this one fits. Okay, so I know most of y'all remember the previous city council meeting, and yeah, it was lengthy, but for good reason. Your decisions today will directly impact and influence the lives of my children for the rest of their lives. Part of the reason for the length last time was the fact that all but 2 of the city council members refused to meet with us or even respond to emails trying to explain our situation. With the exception of the mayor and at the time Mayor Pro Tem, I guess you're now just Councilwoman Martinez Garcia. Oh, well, you had a different title. And the city manager met with us, and we explained the situation and talked. And then former Councilman Glasheen did finally concede to a phone call because that was all that he said he had time for, during which he did inform us that his decision was already made, but he'd hear us out anyways. And he was true to his word. He voted the exact way he told us he would. Unlike the members of the mayor, Councilwoman Martinez Garcia, who in the meeting told us that it wouldn't be a problem to give us more time to continue our discussion with LEDA, but then when it came down to the vote at that last meeting, it was a resounding yes. Similar to that meeting, we're asking again today for your help, for you to consider the long-term impacts that today's decision will make. While today's case looks really small, it's only that one little strip, the impact is huge. Preventing that stretch of land that runs along 1294 directly in front of our home from being rezoned might just save us from having the industrial driveway installed directly across from ours, which coincidentally is exactly where the zoning commission placed their sign so that we get a daily reminder of what's going on in front of us. It will also possibly allow for a small setback or boundary from whatever industrial complex LEDA deems worthy of being gifted the land they purchased, as they generally do. As Ms. Singer stated in the zoning case, since this property abuts the county, there's no requirement for a boundary. There's no requirement for a setback. So that nothing has to abide by that. As my wife said, they could build it on the property line and it'd be 70 feet from us. It's been said over and over again, there are no plans for this property or the one that connects to it. So then why the rush? In every zoning meeting, city council meeting, and private discussion about this property, it's been made abundantly clear that there isn't a purpose for this property other than to market it. So then why, in the zoning meeting, did Mr. Holman specifically thank the commission for hurrying this along by allowing the annexation and zoning requests to be processed concurrently? If there are no plans, why buy out the last piece of residential property on the south side of the road the morning of the previous zoning meeting? Might just be coincidental timing, but I don't think it is. We're asking for you to hold LEDA in check for a little while. Make them do this the right way instead of allowing them to pick and choose who gets taken care of and who gets to suffer through their steamrolling of entire sections of the Lubbock area. LEDA is directed by people that don't even live inside the city limits. But yet they get to decide where the money flows. Money that comes from sales tax and property tax paid in the city. They don't really have anyone to answer to, or so it seems. Their meetings are open to the public, but yet there's no room for visitors they don't expect. No places for the public to sit while their members, board of directors, and city council members make the decisions on what properties they're willing to buy and which property they're going to give away to corporations. The City of Lubbock's comprehensive plan clearly shows, which I noticed those maps weren't displayed today as they were at the last one, clearly shows that every single parcel of land around our home is set to be industrial. And that is what is used to justify these decisions to rezone these properties. Comments by Mr. Holman in the zoning meeting references that plan and states that it shows a better picture of what they're actually doing while there being industry all around. There's only one industrial business within a half mile of us, and that's the Monsanto plant, which is only there because LEDA purchased that land and gave it to Monsanto at the time for exactly $0 and then paid their closing costs as well. Approving to rezone this parcel will all but guarantee that our property sits directly across from whatever they decide to bring in, because Mr. Holman, as Mr. Holman stated in the zoning, planning and zoning meeting, the northwest corner, which is that small strip, we have about 400 feet of our property sit along that, is ideal for the development since it's the high spot, and so any drainage will be carried away from 1294. So what specific runoff are we worried about if there's no plans yet? At the last city council meeting, it was made very clear where your allegiances lie, to whatever agenda LEDA lays before you, not to people who came from Lubbock, not to the future citizens of Lubbock, which are those three sitting there, and not to the vulnerable children who just wanted a simple life with room to live and enjoy a wide open view. You used the last meeting to try and shame and embarrass me based on the information you got from the discussions you were willing to have with John Osborne, but not us. And while you might not do math in public, you got pretty close. $275,000 an acre is exactly what LEDA gave across the street from us. So the offer that our realtor made to LEDA was actually considerably lower than the comps for the area. You also taught my children to be scared to speak up for what is right, for what they believe in. When discussing this meeting coming up, we were very plainly told by one of them, "I don't want to speak again." When we asked why, "Because I'm scared." Those were the literal words that came from my child because of your behavior last time. Another, you tried to teach that there is no point. They'll just do whatever they want anyways. Thankfully, she has an incredible mother that explained to her that even though we know we'll lose, even when we know the people we're talking to don't care, we still do it anyways because it's the right thing to do. You have another chance to show my children and all the citizens of Lubbock that you can do the right thing. You can look out for the regular, everyday people. Even though we don't reside inside the boundaries of the city limits, we still matter, and we have people in the city that care about us and what happens to us. Vote no put a pause, figure this out. Protect the last little bit of land and protect my family from the plans that were made without a single thought to the life impacts it will have to the people that live there. Thank you.
Thank you. Real quick before you get going, when y'all come up, will you please state your name? That way I can address you guys personally.
Hello, my name is Zaylee Whitworth, and I live at I live directly across the street from this property at 602 FM 1294. In February, I spoke and asked that you do not rezone case 3552. You did not listen then, and I am confused on why. When I attended these meetings, I hear people say that there are no plans for across the street. However, what I have watched all summer is lots of vehicles with lights and people up and down our street, including in our yard, not just the field across the street. Also, at the zoning meeting for case 3552, a lady stated that LEDA should help the families in this area. Nothing has been done. How do I trust when you say there is nothing happening, but yet what I see is different? All I want is answers. All I want is to live somewhere that is peaceful when I look out, just like it has been for the last 10 years of living in our home. Please protect the peaceful view that I have and not rezone case 3555.
Thank you.
My name is Stephanie Smith. I live at 2825 67th Street. The reason I'm against your zoning case, I need to kind of piggyback a little on what Mr. Hernandez said. For instance, I've been here since 1983, and I have been aware of what LEDA does. I know that if they have a direction, which is industrial development, yes, that's probably what they're going to do. If there's another option, you have heard, and I have seen and heard over the years, many who speak on behalf of quality of life. And right now, the city is so big that we are a heat island. So the rain doesn't hit the ground when it gets over the city, okay? If LEDA's task is to have economic development, then why don't they look at those properties that are underused at the present? You can go over north and east of Avenue Q and find plenty of empty properties with lots of prairie dogs. So basically, if I'm running my budget, you guys say, oh, we don't have enough money. Well, if I'm running my budget, I look and see what I already have and how can I utilize that in a way that is productive. So they're going out to a piece of land that could be used for water absorption, could be used for native grasses to enrich the soil. It could be used for Ogallala refillment. So there is absolutely no particular reason for LEDA to go and decide to make that for industrial development. And to go back to what Adam Hernandez says, you can look at the charts, you can look at the graphs, you can go back through and find that there is more taxation achieved with individual houses than there is with industrial development. So we need to rethink, again, quality of life. You're just making this city hotter and hotter and hotter by putting more concrete out there. So why don't you go back and look at a way that to utilize some of the buildings that are not being used, that are just sitting there, getting hotter and hotter and making the city hotter and hotter. So that goes back to how much water usage you expect us to conserve. You know, we can only water between 10 and 6 on Monday and Wednesday, or, I mean, you said the city, we just need to really conserve. Well, so I'd like to see LEDA being changed to a type B so that it can look at all ways to develop the city, not just one area. And yes, we come back here time after time after time after time. And we are the citizens. If you let LEDA spend our money, and they get to decide all that, and I've never remembered any time where LEDA had public hearings so we could tell them what we wanted before they did it. So in my opinion, LEDA is actually a situation where it's taxation without representation. Now, I think that you all probably are logical individuals, like many people think they are. And, you know, if you presented with the right data and you have enough information, you can make a much better informed decision. And so when you're looking at all of the city, you can't say, well, that piece of land doesn't matter, it's only over there. Well, of course it does, because the land that I saw in Upland that was all farmland so many years ago did have deer and coyotes and skunks and tarantulas, and they are absolutely part of our environment. You cannot live without the bees and the butterflies and the birds. So you have to allow some place where you're not putting industrial development. So my question to you is why, ask yourself, why in the heck can you not find what it is that you already have and that you can't use that way? Change LEDA to be a type B so that they can look after the citizens of Lubbock and give yourself a break. We don't have to come up here every time you decide to make a decision about zoning. I mean, really. I appreciate your time, and I think that if I had a chance to talk with you, so I don't always, but if I have a chance to talk to you, I'll probably make another appointment. If you want more information, I can give you data. But you need to look out. As a council member, you need to make sure that you're informed before you make your vote. I truly am against this zoning case 3555. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
My name is Stephen Sanders.
Mr. Sanders, can we take about a 5-minute break and then you can come back up?
Okay.
So sorry, I didn't want you to get going. Councilwoman Martinez Garcia needs to step off for just a sec.
That's like football.
I apologize. We're going to recess for about a 5-minute break. We'll be back at about 3:11. Okay, we're going to go back. I apologize to Mr. Sanders. I did not mean to cut him off. We needed just that quick recess, though. Thank y'all for allowing that. Just a quick reminder before you jump off, Mr. Sanders, let's please keep it relevant to the zone case. I'm probably only going to let you guys go about 2 or 3 minutes if y'all are drifting off, and I'm trying to not interrupt, but let's try to keep it as relevant to this zone case as possible. I will try to redirect if we get too off topic. And again, let's keep all applause to zero. It just allows us to kind of keep the flow of the meeting moving really well, allows everybody a chance to speak. So we're not here until 11 o'clock tonight, so we can get through this, and we want to hear everybody.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Sanders.
All right, my name is Stephen Sanders, and I live at 3404 75th Street, but I grew up in East Lubbock, and I spent a lot of time in North Lubbock. I used to ride my bike from East Lubbock to North Lubbock, down through the golf course, and we had a bike trail, so I know all about that part of the town, and I love those people. But the reason that we're here is for 3555, and I want to say this real quick. I'm going to be brief, 2 to 3 minutes. If you approve that, tomorrow morning, I believe that LEDA will take a permit out for a data center. I believe they'll do it. They've been very consistent with that type of behavior. And I'm not going to bore you with numbers because Adam laid it out very clear. The second thing I want to talk to you about really quick is that family that has been looking you in your eyes. I am almost in tears that we even have to try to fight that. And I know you guys have a difficult job. I know that. But at some point, you have to realize that just because it says that you can do that, that it doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean it's right. And so sometimes you have to make sure that you're thinking with your human side of this case, in this zoning case. Like, as a human being, how would you feel if you and your babies had to come stand up here and say, hey, will you please not do this to us? This is all we got. And finally, if it does happen and you guys approve a data center and that happens, we'll have to recall you. I want to say that I've been watching you, Ms. Jennifer, and you've been doing a good job. But I think that you could help with this, making sure that, because I know you have a heart. I know you do. I've seen it in you. I watched you, how you look at the people and how you care. I believe you care. And I believe that this is an opportunity for you to be the hero. This is an opportunity for you. And thank you to everybody that's up here on this podium. I know it's not an easy job, but what you guys do. So I do thank you. And I don't hate Lubbock, but if I care about my city, I'll always work with you and pressure you and push you to do what's best for us, because we deserve that. We pay taxes. That money that we pay, that's hard-earned money. I got 5 kids. Let me tell you right now, I got a chain on my refrigerator door. So let's work together, and I ask that you guys oppose and not approve this ordinance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Wilson and council members. My name is Morgan Polson. I live at 7112 23rd Street. I'm a resident, I cannot talk, a Lubbock resident speaking today in temporary opposition to item 6.1. That's a little bit different than what you've heard mostly, so don't know how that's going to play in the crowd, but mine is a temporary opposition. Before I address this item, I would like to formally thank the council for posting meetings on YouTube. It makes these sessions digitally available, increasing local accessibility for thousands of citizens who are unable to physically attend during work hours for various reasons. For me, it's my health, and I'm glad that I was able to come today. But having those meetings on YouTube helps a lot more citizens stay in the know. I also want to thank the council for being involved with Leadership Lubbock. Councilwoman Martinez Garcia and I had the distinct pleasure of having lunch during that program, and it was that very conversation and experience that inspired me to dive deeply into these municipal issues. After looking deeply into these municipal issues, I'm requesting that we pause this zoning change until there are no residents living across the street. I do believe that this area makes sense to zone for general industrial due to the previously stated location benefits in prior meetings and talking about the railroad tracks that are nearby as of now. Now, Mr. Holman called this piece of the project a way to finish up and kind of clean up. I call it our chance at a Hail Mary to simply delay the zoning change. I know that's not what everybody wants, but for me, I just want to delay it until the Whitworth Steels and that other family have been able to talk with Lita. Lita has not come back to the table since February 24th. And I just want them to have the chance to finalize that deal. And that will allow them to then move prior to construction beginning. Y'all have leverage here. This is an opportunity just to get somebody to go meet and get this done. So that's all I have to say about that. I appreciate you listening, and I am in, again, temporary opposition. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Polson.
I'm Susan Pettis, and I live north of Coronado, so I don't live in this area, but I am concerned. Right before this meeting, I received some information that this 7+ acres would allow sewage infrastructure for the large area that's already been rezoned, and that would allow this to be rezoned into something different, in industrial complex or possibly a data center, because nobody has said, no, it will not be. So I'm going to just, for 10 seconds, take us there. There were about 300 people at the Civic Center that talked about their concerns, their questions about a data center, and we were assured that nothing had been proposed. And so I just want to give you 2 items that I've become aware of on a documentary from Abilene, who has one of the largest data centers. First of all, there was a drone that was flown over the data center showing the heat map that it's putting off, and these are not technical terms because this is not my area of expertise, but there were smokestacks with fire and only 2 of them were open. And it was showing the immense heat that was already coming out from that data center. The other concern on that documentary was a neighbor that lived nearby that had to change her air conditioner filters every 2 weeks because they were so dirty. So we don't know what all is involved in this. The other thing I want to point out, I don't know much about LEDA, and I do appreciate you serving on the board. I know it's hard, and it's a lot of information that I have no interest in. So I appreciate you sitting here hour after hour listening to zones and codes and et cetera. But it seems to me like if people are affecting our tax dollars, they should be elected, because I've heard tax abatements, I've heard land being given away, I've heard loans, all sorts of things that LEDA is allowed to do with our tax money, and it seems like it should be an elected position. I don't know how that could be done. I'm one of those people that think outside of the box and think this is what should be and then figure out how to do it, even if it has to change the Constitution or whatever to do it. So anyway, I appreciate you listening and thinking about not accepting this zoning change today, and wait on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Pettis.
Hello, my name is Keelan Harbor. I live on 5218 85th Street. I have no direct relation with any of these events, but to care about the people that live in this city alongside me. It was stated in this earlier that there was a farmer that apparently he's willing to, he doesn't want to farm this land anymore, but where is his approval? Is it difficult to get the favor from somebody who says that they're willing to let their farm go? But however, I don't see the favor. Is that not supposed to be there? Should he not have had a statement to say he's in favor of it? It seems contradictory. There is also a petition has been growing apparently to oppose the implementation of a data center. I would like to know how this would affect that petition. Is it going to stop it? Is it going to keep it from actually going through? Is it going to have any effect on it at all? Because if there are people moving to put their voices together, is this going to stop that from having any effect? Now, the term, it was stated that it was expected to be cleaned up, this area. That's subjective. As you can see, when I clean up, I take a shower and I put on a clean t-shirt and deodorant. When other people clean up, they look fantastic. These suits are awesome. I love it. However, it's very subjective. Now, if you're going to be cleaning up the residential area, you don't need to rezone it. If they have such a big interest in cleaning it up, go ask the people if you can clean it up for them. That means nothing. That statement does not help their approval at all. If I want to go clean up something, I volunteer. I go help. I do it. I don't ask someone else to rezone it so I can go do it. Now, no one rezones anything without a plan. There was no statement there. There was no, we're looking to do this specific thing. A data center is unlikely. That's nothing. That's subjective. That's a non-committal statement. Unlikely means absolutely likely. No means no. Now, if there is a plan, they're either unwilling or unable to tell us. It's very easy for me to state that. My plan today was to come here and support people. I did my plan. If you have a plan to change the zoning, change people's lives, tell me, what's your plan? It's very easy. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Miller. I am District 2 citizen. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to the citizens. I know that your positions are voluntary. I know that you got in those seats because you care about your districts. We have District 1 and District 2, that's 2 votes. So obviously they're looking for you all to help them if that's not in their favor, which I'm hoping that this is not in their favor. I definitely oppose rezoning and putting industrial into this area. It's really refreshing to see other citizens who are opposed to environmental injustice. I am Executive Director for North and East Lubbock Coalition. While I'm not necessarily speaking on behalf of North and East Lubbock at this time, I'm speaking as a citizen. This has been something that we have talked about for so many years, going back when Mayor Pope was here. And I know that LEDA has really gotten a bad rep like Adam said, LEDA's doing what LEDA's designed to do. And if you heard a lot of these citizens, they're not here just saying, hey, don't do this. They're coming with solutions, right? We all love our city. You guys got in those positions saying that you want to do what's best for the city of Lubbock. Your citizens are saying, hey, we don't want this here, right? I didn't, and again, as a citizen prior, I am going to say I do disagree with what you said, because I didn't hear any of those folks that live directly across say they want to move. I didn't hear that from them. I heard them say, please don't put this in front of my home. I heard the baby get up here and plead with her heart. I don't know if you guys are mothers or parents, but I mean, I was crying. Like, that's so heartfelt, right? And so those positions that you're sitting in, we're asking you and we're pleading with you to do what you've been elected to do, and that's to represent your citizens. And so I do appreciate your time. And again, there's the options, which is making LEDA B. And if you can imagine, our main corridors, many of us have family that come into our city, our great city, from the airport. Can you imagine having commercial or residential or Starbucks when they get off the plane, or a place? I mean, a lot of places that you come into, when you fly into their city, you know, I'm a veteran, so I've flown all over the world, and I go into these countries, they want folks to see their country. They want you to see their city and their state. Can you imagine having those beautiful sites and not industrial sites? I mean, I'm just saying, we're here because we want what's best for our city. So I would hope and pray that you guys would consider everyone who just spoke prior to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Miller.
So glad to go behind Natalie. I'm Phyllis Gant, District 2 resident. And I'm not gonna plead, I'm not gonna cry. We've been to this podium too many times in the last 15 years. When a child stands before this dais and asks you guys to consider their home, they're not saying build them a playground, they're saying we live here. Don't put this across the street. So I simply rose to say I'm all hyped up about getting signatures, because we just successfully did that regarding a moratorium. You can vote with us today, the people that voted and put you in place, or you can watch us do a recall.
I'm going to remind you guys one more time, let's keep the clapping to 0, please, so we have time to get up and speak. And let me remind you again, please keep it directed towards our zoning case. We're not here to discuss data centers and or what LEDA is or is not allowed to do. Thank you. Go ahead.
I think the biggest issue here right now is transparency. There is a reason that these folks are telling you there's construction going on, but their LEDA is not telling you what it is. And when you don't want people to know what you're doing, you're not doing something good. We got to stop it.
Hello, my name is John Macias, and I am a resident of the city of Lubbock. And real quick, I don't want to take a lot of time. I know this is long. My opposition directly agrees with everybody. I think it's pretty nonsensical to be rushing these decisions when we have no transparency or no actual plan for it. But I really came up here to ask a clarifying question, and I don't know if Mr. Osborne could answer it or not. He did say these 2 small strips of land are not suitable for data centers, but is it not true they are the last outreach of City of Lubbock's utilities that are necessary for LEDA's already owned land to produce a large industrial firm? So let me just clarify, because I'm a little nervous. So the land themselves, they can't be used for large industrial plants, but they are necessary for LEDA's already owned land to do large industrial plants, right? Is that they kind of swarmed through it and they made sure they told everybody that it wasn't going to be used for data centers. And I know you're saying it's off topic, but even Mr. Osborne brought it up himself. And so I just need clarification on that, right? These strips of lands are the last outstretch of city utilities that LEDA needs to utilize their already owned lands, correct?
So I'm gonna just let everybody know that council's not allowed to engage with you guys and answer
Okay.
questions during.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's a
Something we
rhetorical
can address
question.
later.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's a rhetorical question for the people in the room to make sure that Mr. Osborne's previous statements were absolutely misleading. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Emerson. I live at 2914 U, born and raised in Lubbock, Texas. I am against zoning case 3555. I know I am fully encourage economic development in Lubbock. And as long as I've been here in Lubbock, all the dirt is brown here in Lubbock, or red. And I would not like, I do not want to see only industrial land used in Lubbock on the east of District 1 and District 2 when all of Lubbock is brown dirt. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Vicki Johnson, and I live right down the road from where this supposed land is supposed to be changed. The zoning, I'm against zoning case 3555. I've never spoken in public before, so, but the main worry I have is if this takes place, and I know he said that no data center will be built. Well, he didn't even really say, no, it won't happen. So in the case that it might, I just need to let y'all know it will affect a lot of people's groundwater because I live close enough. I talked to a well man about my well, and I have water now, but I was told if that comes in that I will have no water. And there's a lot of people out there already going dry, and a lot of them don't know about this. And I plan on letting everyone around me know that their water will be going dry if this happens. So I'm against it, and I ask that you please think about that.
Thank you.
Because I have children and grandchildren out there, and I've lived there for 26 years.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hi. I didn't really expect to be up here today, but I mean, the people kind of empowered me too. So these are the first time that I've been seeing your faces. This is the first time that I've come here. I know you said not to speak on any data centers or, you know, the clapping. But however, that's what people are concerned about. That's what the people of Lubbock want to hear about. You, the city, have not put out a statement on any social medias, which, by the way, are kind of doing poorly. Literally checked your Instagram. Only one like on literally every post. It's kind of disappointing. There's also no Facebook, so the older crowd can't even see either. You know what? Period. But that's what the people want to know. I mean, if there's no plans for this land, why are we even talking about this? It's kind of pointless. So, I mean, even as a city council, you guys not having any direction is kind of embarrassing on your end. I mean, yeah, it is true. Unfortunately, it's pretty embarrassing that you don't know what this land is going to do. I mean, we, the city, want to know. So that's all I really ask of you is just freaking find out an answer. So, cool.
Thank you.
Hi, y'all. Okay, cool. I do this at church too, so I understand. Hi, y'all. My name is Jacqueline Taylor. I'm a representative of District 2, 2522 64th Street. I am opposed to zoning case 3555. Just like the Seagulls and like Stephanie Smith, I would love to see agency of this land, whether it's a producer, a farmer, to get this land back or used in retention to help reduce our heat dome. There are a lot of other ways that we can be using this land, and if we do not have a plan for this land right now, I strongly do not believe we should be moving forward and trying to push a family out or make the land around it for other people concerned. There's a lot of fear mongering happening in our bigger system. I would love to have more direct conversations and rhetoric that is kind and people-centered, and that is transparent. Also, it's much harder to do this than being in front of people that are my church home. So thank y'all for dealing with my anxiety and patience. And thank you all so much for your service. Again, $300 a year is not a lot of money. And sitting here with us and sitting here in this ick together, thank y'all for the work that y'all do.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary James Rufner. I live at 1115 31st Street, across from the Dream Center. I have a quick question for y'all. Anyone that's spoken today, has anyone taken money from George Soros or signed a non-disclosure agreement? Is that why you will not answer our questions in regards to zoning of 3555? Anyone raise their hands? Nope. Nothing? George Soros. Have any of you signed any non-disclosure agreements? Is that why you can't talk about it? He's a good friend of yours? That's good to know. Thank you. That's all I had to ask.
All right, is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hello. Hi, my name is Nikki Rosenia, and I have been a Lubbock District 1 resident for 7 years now. Originally, I do come from the Houston area where my childhood is filled with huge trees and a creek that flows behind my family's home. Moving here to Lubbock was a landscape shock and one that I have grown to appreciate and to really love. As I walk through the city and even on the drive here today, I have seen all the biodiversity that the High Plains has to offer. And it makes me realize that each type of region is a puzzle piece to a greater sense of belonging, both for the environment and for the inhabitants of those lands, particularly like we're talking about today in Zone Case 3555. Our land should be reserved for the use by and for the people who live and grow it here. Should not be up for sale to the highest bidder based in some faraway place who will never feel the impacts that their development demands of the land. The citizens of our beautiful city deserve to know what this proposed industrial project is and what its intentions are prior to being allowed to connect and leach off of our city's utilities and resources that impact all of us in every district of this city. Simply put, my demands today are that the City Council pause and table items 6.1 and 6.6 on this agenda. Item 6.1 involves my district, my neighborhood, and I think that to take a pause on this annexation and overall the zoning case 3555 is definitely needed. The citizens deserve, I will say again, the citizens deserve transparency, and our right to the democratic process must be upheld. Your duty is first and foremost to the citizens of Lubbock, and your agendas should reflect that and that alone. We do not want to see you represent the interests of foreign developers. And finally, I'm asking you all to listen to the citizens and choose humanity over profit. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition today?
My name is Susan Stewart, and I'm in opposition of 3555. At the very least, you have the ability to be a hero to this family. By delaying your rezoning, you are, in essence, holding up the developer, which would give an opportunity for a deal, a fair market value to be given for their property. And I really do believe that that is the right thing to do. It is prudent to delay 3555. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. All right, is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hi, my name is Stephen Glenn. I'm just going to ask that the council vote in opposition of zoning case 3555. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing none, I will now close the public hearing at 3:43 p.m. And at this time, is there a motion to approve agenda item 6.1? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I've got a motion to approve by Councilman Rose and a second by Councilman Brugel. Any discussion at this time? Councilwoman Martinez Garcia.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. I just want to say that I appreciate everybody coming and speaking. It's so important to get citizen input. Unfortunately, we don't always get to hear from folks, and the other part is that sometimes we don't always hear all of the facts. So, you know, I know that people don't understand that we are not allowed to just speak, but you can always call and meet with us individually and not make assumptions of where people stand. Because I personally have made lots of efforts to be aware of the projects happening in my district. And I've made that very clear when we had that public meeting where I stood, and I continue to do that. I want to also say that LEDA is not a bad part of our organization. Some of the information that they're not allowed to do, it's very sensitive. So, you know, I'm not trying to protect them, but you guys have to understand, we're watching out for your tax dollars. It doesn't always... Yes, we are. You know, it's easy to scream and holler, but just remember that every single decision is made by 7 council people, not one. All of the information with certain that is very sensitive, because when we're dealing with situations, we have to be aware of what that client might have. And I wish that some of you would consider...
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your comments down.
I wish that folks would consider participating in Lubbock 101. I know it's a crazy thing. What did you say? What did you say? Did you just cuss me out?
Councilwoman, let's refrain from interacting back and forth, please.
As a reminder, we're here to listen. We're doing our best. And we've made it clear that we are very aware of your interests, but we also have to have a balance. So just be understanding of any decisions that are made, because not everything that you heard today is factual. And I think that's what concerns me. And, you know, it's important that you scratch below the surface. So I know Mr. Osborne is willing to talk with any of you, and I myself am willing to meet with anybody. I appreciate you. I've made that very clear, even in meeting with this family. I think it's important, again, to make those efforts, but I also have a duty to all of the citizens. So thank you for your time, and I'm glad that you're here.
All right, Councilman Harris?
Yes. I want to thank everyone for coming out, and I heard something today that's something that I need to look into and find out how can we get that done, and that as far as turning LEDA into a B instead of just industrial. That's something which I've been here a couple of years, but that's something I don't know about yet, but I'll dig into it, and I got some help out there that'll educate me on that. Because that is something I see that we need. I see that that is a problem. It's been a problem. So, but like this, I want to thank you all for coming out, because, like I say, the more times you come, it's more opinions, and that way people can see more than just one side of the situation. And that way the citizens don't feel like, you know, you're just being ignored. That's the reason why I took this position for the people. You know, because I'm retired, so you know, and I have feelings for people, I always have. So, but like I say, thank you all for coming out, and that's something that I get myself educated on and see if we can get that LEDA into a B so we can get better results for this city. Thank you.
Councilman Rose?
Well, this is my next to last meeting, so I figure I'll go out with a bang and at least speak to some of your concerns. And yes, we all do this pretty much free of charge to sit up here. And I do like to see, even though we're getting yelled at and things like that, I do like to see our community here. It means maybe we're on the wrong, maybe we don't see eye to eye on some things, but that our community does care about the city. So these seats being filled are a good thing, not a bad thing. And in terms of the rezoning, there is a lot of land out there that is being farmed that is not in the city limits. And the owner of those lands, I don't know if it occurs to anyone, but they can put whatever they want there. You don't have any say or regulation when you're outside the city limits. And someone mentioned water earlier. And the reason these things of like manufacturing and things going in and industrial going into the city is because we can supply them with water and they're not sucking it out of the ground that people are concerned about. I know someone was concerned about that. Yeah. So, of course they have the right to put a well there if they want to, but they can get it from the city. And then, the city has a lot more resources to provide that water. So, when we're looking at these things, this is some of the things you need to think about. For you to know, we've already come up here and said a data center is not going here. That's not what's going here. A data center is not going here. That's not once was that said. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to engage back and forth. You've had your chance to get up and speak.
That is two separate statements.
If there continues to be outbursts, we're going to ask people to leave.
I didn't ask a question.
We're not asking directly. We're not going to interact back and forth. If there continues to be outbursts, we're going to ask for you to be removed. Councilman Rose.
Thank you. So back to the fact that it sets perfectly on a rail line. It's just, we don't sit with LIDA and say, we should put this here and put this here and things like this. That's not what the zoning is about. We look at uses for things that a company is going to think that this is going to be, this would be a great spot for us because we're on a rail line. We can get shipments in and out and things that we need. So that's why I'm saying a data center, yeah, I guess you could put one there, but you're not going to pay for that land when you're not going to pay the price that's sitting on someone else is going to come along and pay a lot more for that because it's on a rail line. A data center doesn't need a rail line. So that's okay. There's different things that go into looking at this. This is not, we're here to, put a giant manufacturing company in the middle of your neighborhood. That's what we have city limits and UDCs for. I mean, these are important things. That's why we have development codes. And that's just kind of my 2 cents on it. I know you all have concerns about it, but this is where my brain is thinking on where I'm going to vote on this, okay? Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. 5-2. No, 4? I'm sorry. All I heard was 2. 4-2? I'm sorry. Okay. I apologize. 4-2. I forget my stuff.
Wait, we're going to recall them.
Hold on.
A disgrace.
Chief.
We call y'all. And you're not a police officer, so mine either. You can sit there volunteering. That's a disgrace.
All right, guys. I apologize. I apparently can't count without our mayor here. So there's usually a total of 7. Today we have 6. So the vote was 4-2 in favor. I believe against was Councilwoman Martinez Garcia and Councilman Harris. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to the next agenda item. Again, please keep clapping to the minimum. As we move through, if the disrespectful outbursts continue, we will have you removed, okay? We want to have a civil conversation. We all want you here, but as also, I think, Councilwoman Christy Martinez, good gracious, Martinez Garcia said today, as well as several others, we are not allowed to answer questions, engage. Those are rules of council. It's not because we don't want to. So if you want to continue conversations about no matter what, whether it's data centers or zoning cases or anything, please reach out to us individually. But I want to reassure you that it's not because we don't want to engage, it's because we cannot, okay? So, but we will not allow, and it is not allowed for us to have a yelling match back and forth during a council meeting. But your opinions are very valid, and we all do want to hear them, so I want you guys to know that we respect those opinions. All right, so now the council will take up item 6.6 and conduct a hearing regarding a request for annexation from Lubbock Economic Development Alliance, Inc. to annex an area of approximately 7.92 acres adjacent to the northern city limits of the city of Lubbock, south of Drew Street and west of Interstate 27 into Lubbock's corporate limits. Now we have Ms. Sager, who's going to brief us on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As you stated, item 6.6 is a request for a petition annexation, 7.92 acres, located south of Drew Street, west of I-27. Council did approve the service plan at your last meeting. If this first reading of the ordinance is approved today, there will be a second reading at your next meeting, and I would be pleased to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Ms. Sager at this time? Okay, all right. I will now open, I apologize. Councilwoman Martinez Garcia.
Sorry about that, Ms. Murray. Just a reminder that this is an annexation of the area. And I know that we've had that discussion. Will you explain to the public that might be watching and has never really understood what an annexation is?
Sure. So an annexation brings property into city limits. The city cannot involuntarily annex property. We cannot force people to come into the city. It has to be a petition of the property owner's request. So in this instance, the property owner is asking the city to bring their property into city limits, and therefore they will be subject to all of our code of ordinances.
And do we have any reason why we would not allow a property, this particular property, to be included?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any additional questions for Ms. Sager? All right. I will now open the public hearing for agenda item 6.6. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor or in opposition of the request for annexation at this time? We can do either or. This one's just a general, but if we want to do, are you opposed or in favor?
Temporarily opposed.
Okay, well then we'll do opposition first. Okay, so those in opposition will go first.
Thank you again. I am Morgan Polson, once again, 7112 23rd Street. So I got deeper into municipal issues, and then I also got deeper into looking at our city's priorities. Right now I'm standing here because I'm concerned that we don't have all of the priorities quite in order. I am very encouraged by the amount of research that has gone into a lot of these decisions. I'm not sure, does this name tag correspond to this gentleman? Are you Atkinson? Yes. Sure. I'm sorry, I didn't say it loud. Okay, Mr. Atkinson, I believe is the one that did the presentation at the data center meeting, and I was encouraged seeing I'll explain where that comes in, but I was encouraged seeing the fact that there are different pieces coming into play and talking about special use permits and that kind of stuff, because I do think that makes a case for where we do, like Mr. Rose mentioned, have control over, if something's in the city limits, then we have more control over the water they use and the other different pieces there. So just want to say I do see the effort that is made, and I do appreciate that. My concern is that pushing the annexation forward through this reading, and also by allowing that concurrent, the zoning meeting to have happened at the same time, it feels a little bit like an intentional race to beat the clock on LEDA's part before constituents can legally cast their ballots on a moratorium. I'm just saying how it's coming across to me at this moment. My opposition to annexing the 7.92 acre piece of land into our city limits at this point in time is threefold. Number one, the severe lack of transparency surrounding this tract. I know that you don't always have all that information. LEDA has information. They're trying to figure out what they're going to use that for. Mayor McBrayer today stated from abroad that this item has nothing to do with data centers. At the exact same time, LEDA has openly admitted there is no currently defined purpose or project for this land. Rhetorical. If there is no defined project, how can we definitively claim what will or will not be built there? The larger 388-acre tract, give or take, that all of this kind of connects to, is currently landlocked, and they don't have access to the city sewer lines and tying into our utilities. We are all, well, maybe not all fully aware. One thing that I heard earlier is if you zoned it, then this stuff happened. It's not exactly how it works. However, if this annex passes and it becomes part of the city, it is literally the final gateway LEDA needs to make that entire block developable. Under Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 245, better known as the Texas Vested Rights Law or grandfathering statute, today, if passing this annexation would then clear the legal desk for an anonymous developer to file building permits the day after it's passed. I know there's a second hearing, but that is when those permits would be filed. The exact second those city permits are stamped, the project is legally locked in under current rules. It becomes entirely immune to our upcoming November citizen moratorium, unless it gets passed by council, or any special use permit requirements that you have suggested in that prior meeting. Look, I appreciate LEDA. I have a friend that's on LEDA. I've seen what they do for our city. I do strongly want this economy to grow. Their sole duty is to bring businesses in and grow our economy. They excel at that. Those are good things. They have a responsibility to utilize loopholes that they believe further their cause. And that's where the checks and balances come in from city council. I don't expect you to know every single thing. There's a million laws, there's a million petitions, there's a million things at any given moment in time, new legislation that comes through. I don't expect you to know everything. But when citizens bring it to your attention, I do expect that you'll act on that information. So the information that I'm focused on today, again, with that piece, is that once you annex it, if a permit is filed, then oh my gosh, none of the stuff that we're talking about potentially putting into place, like a special use permit, would apply to this particular tract of land. Now, if it goes further and it does end up becoming a high utility server farm or Bitcoin mining facility, as you said, it is possible, it is not definitive, it is possible. I think the voters will believe that the intention all along was to bypass the community's voice. I know that you and LEDA are two separate entities. I understand that, but I do think that is how it will come across to the greater voters. My second main point is the emergency infrastructure and our ISO level 1 jeopardy. So looking at the city's own operational data, according to the signed municipal services agreement for this land, extending emergency infrastructure here comes with an explicit admission on page 2. Fire suppression can only be afforded to this tract with a, and I quote, less than desirable response time of up to 9 minutes from distant stations. Our firefighters work incredibly hard to maintain Lubbock Fire Rescue's elite ISO Class 1 rating, which also lowers homeowners insurance, so you know. This is a distinction that is only held by 1.3% of departments nationwide. Intentionally absorbing a heavy industrial gateway with a documented 9-minute travel delay directly jeopardizes the safety response averages that protect our entire city and help that rating. That's what I learned during Leadership Lubbock from the chief, I don't know if chief is the right word, but head honcho of the entire Lubbock Fire Rescue has said that that is part of ISO, is the response times. During my Leadership Lubbock visit to that headquarters, I learned firsthand about the intense operational and funding strains our first responders face citywide. I understand you can only spend $1 once, not my point. While this council is considering what would be fast-tracking utility lines for an anonymous developer with an admitted 9-minute safety delay out north, our massive residential sprawl out west, where I live, remains completely underserved and desperate for another permanent fire station to protect thousands of existing real families. That information came directly from the head of Lubbock Fire Rescue. I know that we recently opened Station 20 to help our massive growth out to the south, and I think that's incredible and needed. Again, I know there's only limited funding, so one of my concerns is we have thousands of residents that have moved out west, and the furthest west station we have right now is at 26 in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Somebody brought up Upland earlier.
Ms. Polson, let's bring it back to the annexation.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No,
that was a
okay.
good point. So my point is, if it's annexed and you get those fire services out there, I'm trying to figure out how do we cover that additional stretch. Okay, so third and most importantly, this is a profound human issue. The Whitworth family, the Teal family, and other longstanding residents on the north side of the street have not had a fair chance to sell their homes and relocate. Okay, well, you'll like the second point then. Mr. Teal is an elderly gentleman, and it seems they can wait him out. What about this young family, which has taken every public hearing option available to speak out about this? During the recent Planning and Zoning Commission hearing for case 3555, it was exposed on the record that LEDA has completely backed away from the negotiating table altogether since February 24th, when that initial zoning was passed. The moment LEDA secured their general industrial zoning over neighborhood protest, as Mr. Whitworth referred to it, he considers it his neighborhood, they abandoned these families. Let's be completely honest about what that means. These families cannot sell their homes to anybody else but LEDA. Who else is going to buy a residential home that is backed into a corner, destined to become a general industrial zone at some unknown date in the future? Nobody. It's not a good investment. Nobody but LEDA, which owns all the surrounding land. By changing the zoning and annexing this land, by changing the zoning of that land, walking away, LEDA has trapped these families financially. We need to talk about what we are sacrificing for an empty field. Just last night in the local news, it was reported there are currently over 1,000 children in the South Plains foster care system in this area, and a community desperate need of stable homes. The Whitworth family went above and beyond as foster parents, specifically choosing to move out here to this land to build a home where every single child could have their own bedroom in a calm, open, and stable environment. They've spent years of emotional labor, time, and resources providing these children that are adopted out of the system a safe space to recover from trauma.
Ms. Polson, I'm going to ask you again to bring it back to the annexation, okay?
The 2 sentences would have got to that, but okay. My main point is that if they're going to have to move, we might as well do it now. We aren't asking LEDA to halt the progress forever. We're asking them to step up, make a fair offer, and help relocate them immediately. My main point is that this development cannot really get going until this land is annexed, because they will not have access to the city utilities and that road. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that they want this land annexed now. I understand you passed it for general zoning. Got it, cool. It's going to happen at some point. However, there are real reasons that we need to just wait to finish annexing that land. So in order to run heavy-duty utility loops, flashing survey lines, and commercial rail switching paths directly across the street from these children's bedrooms, which should dismantle a stable environment they fought to build, the annexation has to pass. If it does not, if we pause it, they can get out of Dodge, we can pass it, we're good to go. Not everybody's gonna love it, but at least it's done, right? So my actionable request is that back when this tract, the greater tract, the 388 acres, was discussed in February, Mayor McBrayer stated that while he does care about people in surrounding towns. His responsibility is ultimately to the taxpayers and residents within the city limits. But look at the reality today. This family lives just across the street from where we are proposing becomes the official city limit this afternoon. And according to the city's own future land use map, that land across the street will eventually be swallowed into Lubbock anyway. You cannot use a technical boundary line to turn a blind eye to the human cost of this development. If you do not pass the annexation today, LEDA cannot develop the project for just a second. Just give us a second. This council holds the single piece of remaining leverage left to force LEDA to treat our neighbors with basic human dignity. I want to be entirely clear. Once these families are taken care of, and we can be absolutely certain that this land will not be used for something that our moratorium would affect, I am completely in favor of this annexation. I'll show up and happily speak in favor. You can call me. I believe this can be a highly beneficial acquisition for our city limits and our long-term economy, pending getting fire services properly figured out for existing residences throughout Lubbock. Until those criteria are met, I'm asking you to simply table item 6.6 today. Postpone this annexation until the petition process is complete and the voters have spoken and the family has been relocated. Keep this project paused until LEDA is forced to make a fair, honest buyout offer so these families can safely relocate immediately before development begins across the street. And instead of fast-tracking utility infrastructure for an empty tract, I request that the City Council prioritize city resources where they belong. By funding and constructing a permanent fire station in our western neighborhoods, protect our right to vote, protect our first responders, and protect the foster families who are actively healing our community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Polson.
William Whitworth. I didn't write anything for this one. So why was this not annexed back in 2018? Because Lubbock wasn't willing to extend first responder services this far north. That's why all of these homes this far north of Lubbock were not annexed in. That was part of the conversation. That was part of the discussion that my wife and I were able to have with every single council member back then. Every single one of them. Every meeting would come up, they would meet with us, we would discuss the issues, we would come up with a compromise. And we came up with a compromise that's worked well for the last little bit. So if you're not willing to extend those same fire services this far north, you heard the response time. That response time is inadequate. During that annexation time and during the construction of the Monsanto plant, there was a worker there that had a heart attack. And Lubbock couldn't reach them in time because it was already inside the city limits, and Lubbock didn't have a station out there close enough to get to them. New Deal was 3 minutes away, but they didn't get dispatched because it was already annexed into the city limits. I'm asking you not to annex this, in part because of that, because it still sits in the same place and the city services are still the same, but also for exactly what she said. That this annexation, this is what will prevent all of everything that we just spent the last couple hours talking about from just blowing right through and making my family the centerpiece of Lubbock's industrial district. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Whitworth. All right.
Gosh. So obviously, I'm not in favor of the annexation. This is not responsible growth. District 1 and 2, I hope you guys are looking at your constituents. You guys are saying what you know is not in the best interest of your communities, and they're not necessarily agreeing with you. They need your votes on things too, right? There's just two of you. You definitely have to have at least one or two others. Like, it's so disheartening. I've been coming here year after year after year. Annexing this property could open the door for additional industrial development near communities that have been faced with environmental injustices for decades. A public hearing, it should not be treated as a procedural checkbox. You guys didn't just come here to check, we're done. Let's go 6.1, 6.2, 6.6. You didn't come here with your minds made up. I don't think so. I hope not. If you did, that's not responsible. That's not being responsible, Doc. I mean, you've had years of education. You guys know what's responsible and what's not. That's not responsible to the folks that you say and you claim that you're providing security to, that you're here to help and protect. The community says no. No is no. It goes in our communities. We care. Again, District 1, District 2, look around. You guys are saying no. I don't understand why they're not agreeing with you. They're not in your districts, but they're here saying that they are here for the city of Lubbock. We got to make a change. We work very hard on the back end. I haven't come here in some time because we are fighting very hard on the back end. North and East Lubbock Coalition, we meet Monday, August 17th at 6:30 p.m. at 101 North Avenue P to fight against environmental injustices so that the citizens can be heard when they're not being heard in the place that they should be heard in. There's other avenues to take.
Ma'am,
Unfortunately,
let's
we
bring
have
it
to
back
take
to the
that.
annexation,
And
okay?
I knew you were going to say
I
that,
know.
Jennifer, and for that reason, I'll say we are vehemently against this. The citizens say no. No is a no. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name's Naya Dukowski. I live in District 3. I have a question that I would like for you guys to talk about amongst each other, which is, what is the harm in just tabling it? I don't know if your name, Kristen, I don't remember your name. Morgan, I'm sorry. Morgan, what is the harm in just tabling it for a time? What does it hurt you to just table it? I know there's a lot of vitriol and righteous anger in what people perceive is going on here. And so I just want to give you a little bit of encouragement in that. There is a temptation when fear comes up that's trying to ride on the anger to put on a mask. And I mean a mask in the Greek sense, which is to pretend. It's hypocrisy, which is pretending. So I encourage y'all not to do that, not to reach for that, to actually listen and to think and consider amongst yourself, what is the harm of just pausing? What is the harm of just pausing it? Thank you.
Thank you, Nye.
Kyla Whitworth, also have a rhetorical question. Because of the the emergency response, and because we already have to call back emergency response when we have something going on because no one's responding, will this further create chaos in which no one knows how to respond to the north side of the road being in the county and the south side being in the city? This affects if we have an emergency at our house. I'm asking that you oppose the annexation.
Thank you, Ms. Whitworth.
Hello, John Macias again, 534 North Chicago. And I'm just kind of piggybacking off the idea that, why are we not tabling this? We've heard multiple times, I believe almost from every single one of y'all, that there's sides to both story and that some people need to be informed more and all that. Those words are going to sound silly if y'all make a decision. That if there's more information, why not table it and get the information to the public and start doing your due diligence and making sure that your people are informed. If you're making these decisions based on just justifications, why not share that right now while you'll have the time to pause, to table this decision? Why not take the time and energy to pause, inform the community of the good justifications y'all might have? Y'all say there's good sides to both sides, so why not just pause everything and let us know those justifications and let us be aware of them? And then maybe you wouldn't have 95% of this room coming up to say no. You know what I'm saying? It falls on deaf ears whenever you're going to tell us there's two sides to one story, but then you're going to rush to a decision. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hello again. My name is Nikki Rosenia. I'm here just to speak on behalf of item 6.6. I urge council today to pause their vote on item 6.6 and the annexation of this land today. We've already heard lots of very good reasons why this is not a good idea to annex this land. The citizens have made their voice clear on this issue, and I urge you, please just listen to them. Vote for our neighbors who already live here. While most would agree that economic development is a good thing, it should never come at the cost of a family's security. Until LIDA can negotiate in good faith with its own residents, this annexation should not pass today. Please, I'm urging you, just table this decision and listen to the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
Hello again, Jacqueline Taylor, up 2522 64th Street. Thank you, Christy and Gordon, for y'all's last vote. These are tied, right? Why do we prioritize and continue to prioritize industry over people? If we do not have the capacity to give public service to people, why should we be giving water to an amorphous company that has not bought this land? Thank you. Oh, I am against this annexation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacqueline. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
Good afternoon. Terry Holman again with Hugo Reed & Associates. In 2015 and then 16 and on through about 2018, I had the pleasure of chairing the City of Lubbock Growth and Annexation Advisory Committee. Due to changes in state law, which we've all become painfully aware of, that committee really lost its usefulness and was disbanded some years back. As you all know, the city's hands have been greatly tied on how and when and where they can annex. And it boils down to you have to be a property owner asking to join the club. And the cities have lost their ability through the changes in state law over the last 10 years to really properly manage how a city grows. We all see, my friend Randy Henson used to call it the bathtub ring. Sometimes on the outskirts of the cities where people want to be, they want to feel like they're in the city, but they don't have to comply with city code. And sometimes what they build is not what we may want to have next door to us, right? Because they're outside the city and there's no regulation. So I know you all know this, and I'm saying this hopefully more for the benefit of the folks in the room. Why would you not want to gain at least regulatory control over property when someone is asking to join the club? That is really the only thing that's at issue here, because as of today, anyone could buy that red thing and build anything they want. And we're believing that it's proper growth and it's proper property management to come in the city and abide by the city codes. I know our Unified Development Code very well, and I can tell you firsthand, it is quite stringent in many regards. And I think that is in the public's best interest to let us join the club, let us play by the city rules, because that sets a proper way to develop, where when you're in the county, you just don't have those safeguards. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Holman.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Kevin Allen. I'm a resident of Lubbock, Texas. I was born and raised here. I currently chair and sit in 15 different offices and boards across Texas and the U.S. I am for this annexation. My reason is we need to build retention with graduates of Texas Tech University. We need to create jobs for younger people. We need to strengthen our economy. We need to build on it. And we need to capitalize on the work that LIDA has laid the groundwork for. If we do not do that, we are wasting our time and passing up opportunity. This annexation does not mean a data center will be placed. It does not mean that. I know this because I am currently working to bring multiple industries to the city of Lubbock to bolster the medical hub of West Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay, I will now close the public hearing at 4:23. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve item 6.6.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Councilman Rose and a second by Councilman Brugel. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. All right, the motion carries 5-1. All right, having exhausted all items today on the agenda, this meeting is now adjourned.